And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Sunday morning's flying weather. We've got a good area of VFR here in the interior, along and south of the Alaska Range and actually the Kuskokwim Valley eastward. We've got marginal VFR with IFR for northern Cook Inlet into the Matanuska Valley and the Talkeetna Mountains there. Marginal VFR, the Brooks Range out to the Arctic coast, and some marginal VFR here along the west coast down to the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians. VFR for Adak and Atka with marginal VFR for the western Aleutians and for the southeast coast. Marginal VFR here with IFR over toward the eastern border. And for the afternoon, not much change. Still marginal VFR here across much of southern Alaska except Bristol Bay to Kodiak Island with some VFR. IFR here for the North Gulf Coast on down the southeast coast, and VFR in the central interior up to the Brooks Range and the North Slope and Arctic coast. Marginal VFR. Marginal VFR extends through the Bering Strait into St. Lawrence Island and down along the southwest coast of the Alaska Peninsula, and also for the central and western Aleutians. And for Monday morning, we've got IFR on the western Arctic coast with VFR for the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline. And for the Brooks Range down to the Yukon River, actually just about down to the Alaska Range, we've got good VFR, slips down through the Kuskokwim Valley to Bristol Bay. Kodiak Island VFR for Monday morning. And marginal VFR for the North Gulf Coast, Cook Inlet to Prince William Sound. IFR along the Alaska Range right through there. Marginal VFR for the Aleutians, IFR for much of the southeast coast. And for the afternoon, that burns back to marginal VFR conditions from Dixon Entrance right on up to Lynn Canal, westward to Cape St. Elias. And there is a marginal VFR for the southern southeast interior, Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay, north and east. We've got good VFR. Now some IFR for the central and western Arctic coast. In areas of IFR here, or a good area of IFR pushing eastward across Adak Island, almost to Atka. Passes for Anatuvik and Adigan. Both should see a chance of some marginal VFR for both passes tomorrow. And Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR, rainy marginal, windy marginal, and Isabel looking marginal. Mintesta, also occasional marginal VFR. And Tanita, marginal VFR. For Portage, looking marginal. And Chilkoot and White, IFR. Freezing levels, 2,000 feet along the Brooks Range and 4,000 feet just south of the mountains there, covering much of southern Alaska. We've got 6,000 feet from the Kenai Peninsula across the southern southeast coast, and about 2,000 to 4,000 feet out here over the Bering Sea. Icing, look for considerable moderate icing, rime possibly mixed here for the eastern North Gulf Coast into the southern Copper River Basin, as well as portions of the Panhandle. And for the jet stream here, we've got good northerly flow coming out of Russia there, right on across the Bering Sea with a jet core here of 125 knots over the western Aleutians. That diving southward off the chart, reappearing here farther to the east, then taking a turn to the east there, right across Dixon Entrance at about 125 knots. At 9,000 feet, south to south, or west to southwest, pretty much westerlies 30 knots into the Panhandle, light over the interior, and northerlies, a broad area of northerly winds again coming out of Russia here, and right down across the Bering Sea in over the Aleutians at about 35 knots. 9,000 feet, north to northwest winds here, strongest over the Alaska Peninsula at 40 knots, about 30 knots there near Nikolsky, and light to the west under high pressure. And the interior from the Arctic coast right on down to the North Gulf Coast, light winds. And for the Panhandle, westerlies at about 30 knots. And for turbulence, with those 30-knot westerlies there at 3,000 feet, look for considerable moderate turbulence, especially for small aircraft. Port Alexander down across Prince of Wales Island to Heidelberg, eastward to Metlakatla, Ketchikan, in toward Stewart, and also another area here for the Alaska Peninsula, right on up into Togiak Bay, Cape Newenham, extending westward there to Unimak Island.